So, usually when we pull a file for a deep dive, we're looking at something polished.
Yeah.
A finished study, a press release, that kind of thing.
Right, something that's meant for the public.
Exactly. But what we have on the table today is, well, it's different. It's raw. It's ugly, frankly.
It definitely has that read and burn quality to it.
Yeah, looking at the timestamps and all the redactions, it feels a little illicit just reading it.
Well, we aren't looking at public information today. This is a surveillance log, specifically a confidential eyes-only threat assessment.
And it's dated October 14th, 2026. So depending on when you're listening to this, this is happening like right now. It's fresh intel.
Extremely fresh.
Yeah.
And the structure of the document, it tells us a lot before we even get to the content.
How so?
It's authored by a private intelligence contractor named Redacted, of course, and it's addressed to just one person, Gerald Phillips, the lead chemist at DuPont Industries.
And that's the first thing that really struck me. This isn't a government agency.
No.
This is private sector intelligence sent to a high-ranking exec at a chemical company. And the subject isn't a rival corporation, It's just a guy, Dr. Marcus Carver, a neurobiologist.
At Washington University in St. Louis, right?
Yeah.
And usually when a corporation runs a check on an academic, it's because they want to hire them.
Sure, they're vetting, though.
They're looking for liabilities, but the goal is recruitment. This document is different. The subject line is literally threat assessment.
Which implies Carver isn't a candidate, he's a target. But looking at his profile, I mean, he doesn't fit the mold of some kind of corporate villain.
Not at all.
He's not stealing trade secrets, he's not a whistleblower, he's just researching.
It's the nature of that research that's triggered the alarm. The contractor has flagged Dr. Carver's work as an existential threat to a specific product line DuPont is developing.
So that's our mission today then, to parse this log and figure out how a neurobiologist experimenting with breathwork and herbs in St. Louis, how he managed to scare a multinational corporation enough to authorize full-scale surveillance on him.
And scare is the right word. The language in here is severe.
Okay, so let's start where the contractor starts. The profile. They've categorized Carver, and I have to ask about this label they used, the helper. Is that like standard intelligence terminology?
It sounds a bit soft, doesn't it?
It sounds reductive.
It does, but in predictive profiling, it's a rigorous classification. Operatives categorize targets by their primary motivators. You have targets driven by ego, by greed, by ideology.
And the helper fits into that.
It fits into the ideology bracket, but it's very specific. It denotes someone driven by what they call obsessive altruism.
Obsessive altruism. Okay, the log defines this as a psychological compulsion to alleviate suffering. And it says it stems from childhood trauma.
Right, severe mental health crisis in his family when he was about 7.
And while you and I might hear that and feel sympathy, a corporate risk assessor sees something else entirely.
They see a rigidity variable. If a target is driven by greed, they're flexible, you can buy them. If they're driven by ego, you can flatter them. But someone driven by a trauma response need to save people. They're rigid.
The report says it explicitly. Highly resistant to bribery or corporate intimidation. That's the danger.
Exactly. You can't write a check to stop a crusade. If Carver believes his work will save lives, no amount of money DuPont throws at him will make him stop. That integrity makes him a liability.
A variable they can't control.
Not with the standard incentives, no.
So because he can't be bought, they have to watch him. And that brings us to section 2. Surveillance findings. This is where it gets invasive.
Very.
They aren't just reading his emails, they're physically watching his lab. And this part is wild, analyzing his refuse collection.
His trash. Yeah, old school tradecraft.
So what they found in the trash, it completely contradicts what you'd expect from a top neurobiologist. He isn't synthesizing new compounds or ordering exotic chemicals.
No, the log says he is bypassing standard pharmaceutical pathways entirely.
And that's the first major red flag for DuPont.
It is. Carver is a scientist, but he's rejecting the entire synthetic model that they're built on.
So what is he doing? The report lists his regimen.
It's a proprietary combination of ancient herbal compounds paired with extreme yogic breathing and meditative states.
Okay, let's just pause on that for a second, because on the surface, that sounds like a wellness influencer's Instagram feed.
Correct. Just breathe and drink this tea.
So why would a chemical giant like DuPont care about a guy doing heavy breathing?
Well, you have to look at the intensity described in the log. It uses the word extreme. This isn't 20 minutes of mindfulness.
So what is it?
It's likely hyperoxygenation work, something similar to tumo breathing or holotropic states, and he's combining that with specific alkaloids from these herbal compounds.
So he's actively altering his physiological state.
Drastically. Shifting his blood pH, changing his oxygen saturation, flooding his system with these very specific plant-based compounds.
And the report points out this great irony. He thinks he's just clearing his mind.
Right. He probably sees this as a mental health regimen, maybe to manage his own anxiety, given his background.
But the surveillance shows something else is happening, something much bigger. And this is where we get to the anomaly.
This is the core of the whole deep dive.
I really want to dig into this because the science is pretty dense. The contractor hacked his cloud account and pulled his medical scans. They found unprecedented activity in his glial cells.
And to understand why that's a threat, we have to understand what we thought glial cells did versus what Carver's cells are actually doing.
Right. So standard biology, which I barely passed, by the way, says glial cells are just the support staff.
The glue.
Glia literally means glue, doesn't it? They just hold the neurons together.
That's the traditional view, yeah. Astrocytes, microglia, they clean up waste, provide nutrients, insulate neurons. They're the infrastructure. But in the last decade, real-world science has started to realize they play a much bigger role.
A bigger role in what? Communication?
In communication, yeah. But what this report describes is a quantum leap beyond even that.
The document says, and I'm quoting here, the glial cells are communicating directly with his rRNA sequences.
And that is the bombshell.
Okay, explain that to me. Because I thought the chain of command went one way. DNA is the blueprint. It sends orders out via RNA, and then the cells build the proteins.
The central dogma.
You're saying Carver cells are sending memos back to the boss?
It implies a retrocausal feedback loop. The central dogma of biology is DNA makes RNA makes protein. It's a top-down hierarchy. But this log suggests Carver's specific state induced by that breathwork and herbal cocktail has somehow empowered his glial cells to act as editors.
Editors.
Think of it this way. Usually your DNA is a read-only file. You can read it, but you can't change the code.
Okay.
Carver has seemingly found a way to change the file permissions to read-write.
The contractor calls it rewriting his own biology. That's the specific phrase they use.
And look at the mechanism. It's not a viral vector. It's not CRISPR gene editing in a lab. It's endogenous. He's doing it to himself from the inside out, using his own biological machinery.
And he doesn't even know he's doing it. The report stresses his obliviousness. He feels better, clearer, sharper, but he has no idea. He's basically engaged in genetic engineering on himself.
Which makes him the perfect subject for surveillance. He's generating all this incredible data, but he hasn't shielded it because he doesn't realize its value.
But DuPont realizes it.
Oh, they realize it. And this brings us to the why. Why is all this a threat?
Section 3, the corporate threat. This is where we meet Project Silence.
Which is just a chilling name for a pharmaceutical product line.
Seriously, it sounds like a weapon system. The report identifies it as DuPont's upcoming psychotropic drug line.
And here's the assessment that justifies the surveillance.
Right here. If Carver publishes proof that human biology can be self-regulated, Project Silence becomes obsolete before launch.
And that is a classic case of disruptive innovation, but in the most brutal sense. I mean, think about the business model for psychotropics.
They're maintenance drugs.
Generally, yeah. You take them daily, often for years, sometimes for life. They manage symptoms.
It's a subscription model for your brain chemistry.
Precisely. It provides a steady, predictable revenue stream for the manufacturer. But what Carver has stumbled upon isn't a treatment. It's a correction. If you can rewrite the DNA expression that causes the imbalance in the first place, you don't need the daily pill.
You fix the bug in the code.
And if you fix the bug, you cancel the subscription.
Yeah.
That is the economic terror for them. Carver isn't just researching a competing drug. He's researching a method that could render their entire category of drugs unnecessary.
Obsolete before launch. I mean, imagine the billions of dollars sunk into R&D for Project Silence.
Clinical trials, marketing, manufacturing.
And one guy in St. Louis threatens to burn it all down just by breathing correctly.
It's the conflict between profit and evolution. If the cure is free, accessible, and internal to the human body, it has zero market value. In fact, it has negative market value because it destroys existing markets.
So DuPont, or at least Gerald Phillips, the guy reading this, has a choice. Ignore him and hope he fails. Or intervene.
And the report makes it very clear they are choosing intervention. But they can't buy him, so
they have to break him.
Which brings us to the leverage analysis. The contractor has identified a personal connection.
A woman named Alicia Norfolk Phillips. Now, I'm looking at these names. The memo is addressed to Gerald Phillips. The target is seeing Alicia Norfolk Phillips.
It's a massive red flag.
That can't be a coincidence.
The document doesn't explicitly state the relationship. Is she his daughter? Estranged wife? Niece? We don't know. But in the world of corporate intelligence, you don't list a detail like that unless it's a pressure point.
The report says their contact is minimal, but it calls her a variable we must control. It feels incredibly predatory.
It's standard leverage. If you can't hurt the target professionally, you lose them personally. And if Alicia is related to Gerald Phillips, that adds this whole other layer of internal complexity.
Is Carver unknowingly dating the boss's daughter? Or is the boss using a family member as bait?
We don't know, but the contractor sees her as a tool.
And the goal of using this tool is outlined right there in Section 4. The recommendation, it's not monitor, it's Phase 2, discredit and isolate.
And that is a huge tactical shift. Phase 1 was surveillance, Phase 2 is active engagement.
Discredit, meaning they attack his credibility as a scientist.
Right. They'll likely plant evidence, suggest his data is falsified, or even attack his mental health history. Use that trauma profile against him to paint him as unstable.
And isolate, that means cutting him off, getting his funding pulled, getting him fired from the university.
Exactly. If he's fired and discredited, he loses access to the lab. He loses the cloud accounts where all this data is stored. He loses the ability to publish.
But the most disturbing part of this whole recommendation is the objective. It says, we cannot allow him to realize what he has actually discovered.
That is the key. They don't just want to stop the research. They want to keep him in the dark.
Why?
As long as Carver thinks he's just doing yoga and drinking tea, he's basically harmless. But the moment he realizes, wait, I'm actually rewriting my own RNA, he becomes dangerous.
Because he'll try to validate it and share it.
Exactly. They want to gaslight him into thinking he's a failure rather than a pioneer. Because a pioneer changes the world. A failure just fades away.
And DuPont needs him to fade away so Project Silence can launch on schedule.
It really highlights how fragile scientific truth can be when money is involved. We assume that if a discovery is true and it works, it'll rise to the top.
But this document suggests there's a filter. And if something works too well, or if it doesn't generate profit, it gets filtered out.
It's the difference between scientific viability and commercial viability. Carver's method seems scientifically viable, at least according to these scans, but it's commercially disastrous. So the system attacks it.
And the contractor's final assessment, I mean, this is the part that gave me chills. It's almost philosophical.
The evolutionary jump comment.
If he learns to control this glial interface consciously, he is no longer just a scientist. He is an evolutionary jump.
That phrase, it just lifts the stakes right out of the boardroom and into the history of our species. The contractor realizes that this isn't just about curing anxiety anymore.
It's about agency.
Agency over our own biological hardware. Right now, we're all born with a genetic deck of cards. We play the hand we're dealt.
And if you have a predisposition for anxiety or cancer or heart disease, that's your lot. You rely on external medicine to manage it.
But if Carver is right...
If he's right, and if this glial DNA interface can be consciously controlled,
we can reshuffle the deck. We can edit the hand while we're playing it.
That's what they mean by evolutionary jump. It's moving from being passive passengers in our bodies to active drivers.
And that absolutely terrifies an institution that's built on selling tickets to the passengers.
Right.
Our population that can self-regulate is a population that cannot be leveraged.
It's just wild to think about the contractor writing this. They're looking at a potential leap in human evolution, and their immediate reaction is, how do we crush this?
That's the job, though. They aren't paid to marvel at human potential. They're paid to protect shareholder value. Uncertainty is a risk, and an evolutionary jump is the ultimate uncertainty.
You can't model the market behavior of a post-human demographic.
You can't, so they stick to the plan. Awaiting orders. The document just ends right there. The ball is in Gerald Phillips' court.
And given the eyes-only nature of this and the severity of the language, we have to assume he's going to sign off on Phase 2.
Carver is about to have a very, very bad year, and he won't even know why.
It just makes you wonder how often this kind of thing happens. We see the drugs that make it to the shelf. We see the papers that get published in top journals. but we don't see the Carvers.
Right, the discoveries that were quietly discredited because they disrupted the wrong revenue stream.
It's the survivorship bias of science.
That's a great way to put it. We see what survives the commercial filter, and we assume what we have is the best possible science. This document suggests that sometimes the best science is the stuff that gets buried because it was too effective to monetize.
And discredit and isolate is such an effective tool because it uses the victim's own profile against them. Carver is the helper. He's sensitive. He has a history of trauma.
So if he starts claiming his cells are talking to his DNA, and DuPont simultaneously paints him as unstable,
The world will believe DuPont because the science sounds like magic until it's proven. And they will make sure he never gets the chance to prove it.
it's a grim picture of corporate suppression.
But I want to circle back to the science one last time before we close. The anomaly.
Sure.
Even if they stop Carver, the fact that this activity was recorded, the glial cells can do this, it means the capability exists. It's in our biology.
That's the silver lining, if you can call it that. They can crush the man, but they can't delete the biological reality. The potential for this glial interface is sitting inside every human being, theoretically.
Carver just stumbled onto the specific combination of breath, chemistry, and focus to unlock it.
It's like finding a cheat code in a video game. The developers might ban the player who found it, but the code is still in the game.
And eventually, someone else might find it.
Or perhaps, the listener already has the capacity. They just haven't turned the key yet.
That's a powerful thought to leave on. We spend so much time looking for external solutions, new gadgets, new pills, new apps. But this document suggests the most advanced technology on the planet is the wetware between our ears, just waiting for admin access.
Admin access is a perfect way to put it. Carver found the password. DuPont wants to change it.
Well, this has been a heavy one. We've gone from a trash can in St. Louis all the way to the future of human genetics.
It's a reminder that the biggest stories often hide in the quietest places. A single log file can contain a revolution.
And for everyone listening, keep that in mind next time you see a medical breakthrough headline or a story about a scientist who suddenly lost their way. You have to ask yourself, did they lose their way or did they find something they weren't supposed to?
Always question the narrative.
We'll be back next time with another stack of documents.
Yeah.
Until then, maybe take a deep breath. You never know what it might unlock.
Just be careful who's watching.